Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, October the 14th. The coastal storm that has been dogging the Atlantic seaboard over the past few days will finally weaken and push away off to the east, out over the open waters of the western Atlantic Ocean. Still some lingering rain and drizzle this morning across much of the Mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. That should wind down later this morning, probably remaining mostly cloudy through the day in the big cities of D.C., Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York City, as conditions will be slow to improve. Finally should see some sunshine back in the Mid-Atlantic region on Wednesday ahead of the next cold front. That cold front ushers in a chilly air mass for later Wednesday night and on Thursday. Meanwhile, we have some snow headed to the western U.S. over the next several days, including in the near term. Places like the Sierra Nevada mountain range of eastern California should get significant accumulating snow over the next 48 to 72 hours or so. Let's start off here this morning with a look at the latest sea surface temperature anomalies. I'm putting together my winter outlook, and I want to point out a few of the factors that I'm looking at right here. It looks like we have La Nina conditions right now in the equatorial part of the Pacific Ocean, and those colder than normal water temperatures out in that part of the world should continue at least into the beginning of the upcoming winter season. Here's the west coast of South America right here. All of this blue represents colder than normal water temperatures, and this is right along the equator in the Pacific Ocean. It looks like this La Nina should continue at least into the first half of the winter season. There are some signs, at least some computer forecast models, that suggest by the latter part of the winter season, these temperatures could get back to nearly normal or neutral signal in that part of the Pacific Ocean. Another area of interest, a lot of warmer than normal conditions out across the northern Pacific Ocean. This is something we'll monitor as well over the next several weeks headed into the winter season. About a decade ago, the maybe 2013, 2014 time period, we had a kind of a big blob of warmer than normal conditions out across just to the south of Alaska. That could play an important role in the development of an upper level ridge over that part of North America, which in turn has a big impact on whether or not cold air masses can make their way from western Canada into the central and eastern U.S. So we'll continue to monitor the northern Pacific as well as the tropical Pacific over the next several weeks. Meanwhile, just want to wrap up here. Notice the temperatures across the Gulf and the Caribbean Sea above normal. And that tells me we're not quite done yet with the tropical season. There is one system out there right now that will have no impact on the U.S. mainland as it's about to curve off to the north and northeast. But the fact that water temperatures are still above normal out here, the Gulf and the Caribbean Sea, suggests we still can deal with the tropical storm or two as we wind down the tropical season, what I would call homegrown type system, something that forms over the Gulf or the Caribbean, something we'll watch for over the next few weeks. Well, here is in fact the map of the tropical activity in the Atlantic Basin. There is a strong tropical storm right now. It's named Lorenzo. I believe I saw sustained winds around 60 miles per hour, so not that far under the hurricane threshold. It may or may not become a Category 1 hurricane. Nonetheless, it looks like it is no threat to the U.S., far from the U.S., and about to make that turn off to the north and then to the northeast. That is the only system right now out here in the Atlantic, tropical storm Lorenzo. But again, with water temperatures still quite a bit above normal across the Gulf and the Caribbean Sea, that suggests to me we may not be quite done yet with the Atlantic Basin tropical season. Well, let's kind of shift gears now and go from the tropical season to the winter type weather pattern. And we certainly have a decent amount of snow coming to the western U.S., those higher elevations of the western U.S. over the next 7 or 10 days or so. This is a forecast map from the Zero-Z GFS for the next 10 days, total snowfall accumulation. And what jumps out at you right here, the Sierra Nevada. This is in the near term. This is over the next 24, 48 hours or so, there could be as much as a foot of snow in some of those higher elevations, probably 7,000 feet and above out there in eastern California. A lot of the Rocky Mountain states will experience some accumulating snow over the next 7 to 10 days or so. Nothing falling so far here in the near term across the eastern half of the nation, but certainly an active weather pattern and a pretty cold weather pattern as well for the western states. Well, let's wrap up with a look at the surface forecast maps from the Zero-Z GFS. And we have two storm systems, one on the east coast side and one on the west coast side. And here is that surface low right now, relatively weak at a 10.05 central pressure here. It finally pulls away off to the east. It's been really dogging the east coast for the past several days, especially from the Carolina coastline all the way up to the northeast U.S. with some significant rain and wind along coastal sections and even some decent rainfall and wind gusts over inland sections over the last few days. Finally pulls off to the east. And here's that incoming storm system right now into California. You can see a little bit of blue here, and this is where the higher elevations are located of the Sierra Nevada mountain range. And there will be some significant accumulation, probably again about 7,000 feet and up, on the order of a foot of snow in some areas over the next 48 hours or so. So let's move forward here. And we'll see this system exits off to the east out into the open waters of the western Atlantic, and here is that incoming system and significant snow at those mountainous areas here, and we'll continue to move forward here in the east. High pressure pushes in, Canadian high pressure, and there will be a dry cold frontal passage late tomorrow, early tomorrow night in the mid-Atlantic region, in the northeast U.S. That will usher in a chilly air mass for this time of the year, perhaps the chilliest air mass so far this season into the mid-Atlantic and northeast U.S. for later tomorrow night and on Thursday. High temperatures on Thursday will struggle to pass the 60-degree mark in many of those mid-Atlantic locations, and there will be a stiff northwest wind as well. The western system moves inland, causes some snow in those higher elevations of the Rocky Mountain states right here. Later tomorrow, that surface low pressure area out across the front range of the Rockies, but notice some blue here, the higher elevations in western Wyoming, certainly southwestern Montana, like Glacier National Park, may get some snow out of this pattern here over the next 5 or 10 days or so. By the time we get to Thursday, Canadian high pressure dominates the scene across the Great Lakes, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S., that coastal system far away by this time. Meanwhile, some decent snowfall here, again, in those higher elevation regions of the northern Rocky Mountain states into the day. On Thursday, we'll go on a little bit farther in time. And by Friday morning, high pressure settles on top of the Mid-Atlantic region, controls the weather throughout the eastern third of the nation, and that Pacific storm that is now moving in, by the time we get to Friday, will move all the way to the north and east into the south central part of Canada. So an active weather pattern for much of the western U.S. over the next 5 or 10 days or so, and that will include some significant accumulating snow in those higher elevations of the Rocky Mountains and in the immediate future across the Sierra Nevada mountain range in eastern California. Meanwhile, finally, this coastal storm that has been plaguing the eastern seaboard over the last few days pulls away later today. Look for much improvement in the weather by tomorrow in the Mid-Atlantic, in the Carolinas, and in the northeast U.S. And the chilly air mass moves in for much of the second half of the week. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.